Challenges and opportunities of emerging market. 84 million jobs being lost, 97 million jobs being created. What is future of work looking like? Work fit is your technical skills and culture fit is your essential skills. There is the India Vision Document 2047. I'm sure you must be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about term Viksit Bharat a lot. And we were the first one in the world to launch a generative AI certification program for HR professionals. We are moving from narrow AI to generative AI. Learning, skilling, upskilling, reskilling is the key, and that's the path for your growth. Good morning, everyone. Special thanks to Management of Christ for having us here. It's wonderful. I think it's a great initiative by CHRMP to bring such conversations forward. I'm so privileged to be here. I think this is my third or fourth visit to Christ campus. I have been to the other Hosur Road campus couple of times, sometimes as a judge, one time as a speaker, and it's always wonderful. Two reasons. One is that when you come to a campus, you always feel young, isn't it? Right? And second reason is that there is a lot of things when you engage and interact, you get to learn from students, right? As professionals, as entrepreneurs, as somebody who's running an organization, knowing what all of you want or what you are thinking of is great learning by itself. The challenges that you would see being probably running businesses as business professionals, and those are points to ponder, and that should be part of the business plan, the KPIs, the job descriptions that you would see in times to come. So I hope all of you have made note and all of you have that visibility. Right. Now, before I start, I think I'll start with a quote from APJ Abdul Kalam. APJ Abdul Kalam once said, "The best brains of the nation may be found on the last benches of the classroom." So I'm looking at all of you in the last bench, and I hope all of you are listening. And that's very important because all of you do make a difference. It's not necessarily only the first benchers, right? Now, when we talk about topic, again, challenges and opportunities of emerging market. And I think what has been truly defined as an emerging market of today and tomorrow is the nation that we all belong to, and that is India. We are growing at a rate no other major economy is growing. We are talking about a demographic that's wonderful. We are talking about population that is our strength. We are talking about a young workforce. Almost 65% of India is today young. It is only once in hundreds of years this opportunity comes in front of a nation to have this kind of energy to make a nation great. And I think we are there. We are arriving. And it is important for us to understand that all of you in this room, all of us in this room, including me and all of you, have a role to play. Right? And just to put it in perspective, I think it's very, very important to define it well. And when we define it well, we are able to move forward towards the goal. So let's first understand how India is trying to define what it wants to achieve. That's very important, isn't it? Because what India tries to define what it wants to achieve would decide a lot of our careers, the places that we would work in, the kind of businesses that we run, the kind of workspace that we belong to, and X and Y and Z. So there is the India Vision Document 2047. I'm sure you must be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about term Viksit Bharat a lot. And the reason we are talking about 2047 India is largely because India touches the 100-year milestone of its freedom. And here are some goals, and I'll read it out to you because these are clear goals that has been set. The first very important goal is achieving a USD 30 trillion economy with a per capita income of USD 18,000 to 20,000. So we are looking at achieving 30 trillion economy. We are also looking at moving our per capita income from lower income to mid income, right? Building a world-class infrastructure both in rural and urban areas. Developing 3-4 global champions in each sectors by boosting indigenous industry and innovation. Becoming a self-reliant nation in defense and space sector, and also enhancing India's role globally. Fostering green growth and climate action by increasing renewable energy capacity and reducing carbon emissions. Empowering the youth with skills, education, and more employment opportunities. And this one is my favorite. Partnering with foreign R&D organizations to build top 10 labs in the country and bringing at least 10 Indian institutions among the top 100 globally. So now if you look at this, now these are goals, right? These are goals of a nation, and it does not matter who is at helm. These are goals of a nation, right? We are looking at achieving these goals, and we as professionals, you as students and professionals of tomorrow, have a role to play. And if you look at this, we are not talking about one particular sector. We are not talking about one particular way the economy would be driven, which can be services driven or otherwise how it has been. We are looking at multi-dimensional growth in different sectors. So when we are looking at these sectors, we are looking at opportunities in infrastructure. We are looking at opportunities in manufacturing. We are looking at infrastructure opportunities in defense, in space, in agri-tech, in education, in skilling, in research and development, in green jobs and sustainability. We are looking at finance, we are looking at fintech, we are looking at healthcare, and we are looking at health tech, and we are looking at information technology. We are looking at so many different sectors, and the reason I said IT last is that a lot of times IT blinds every other sector, right? Yeah. So it's important for us to recognize so many other sectors, so many other opportunities that we are looking at in terms of making a difference, in terms of being part of this growth story. When we look at these goals, and I'm sure that all of us would have set goals, all of us would have achieved some goals, we would have not achieved some goals. What we truly anticipate in any journey of achieving goals are challenges. And when we look at challenges, I think of important inputs have already come in terms of currency, in terms of economics, in terms of political stability, in terms of how markets behave, in various challenges in terms of bureaucracy and red tapeism. I'm sure that things are being done to cater to that. I want to talk on two key challenges that all of you should be aware of, and we should be prepared to embrace these challenges. The first challenge that I want to talk about is the disruption by technology. And when I say disruption by technology, I am not only talking about AI. I will talk about AI a lot, right? It is AI, certainly. It is AI, it is ML, it is 3D printing, it is FSD. Have you heard of FSD? Full self drives, right? And that also is a important technological innovation which is changing things. Lot is changing, let's understand that. And when I say lot is changing, it's not who I am saying this, it is the biggest think tanks in the world which are talking about it. Goldman Sachs predicts that 300 million jobs would get impacted by AI by 2030. McKinsey analysis predicts that by 2030, generative AI could automate 29.5% of the hours worked in US economy, up from 21.5% currently. McKinsey in another report says 83 million jobs will be displaced and 97 million new jobs will be created. Now, these are data points, and these are data points for all of us, because when they are quoting these numbers, somewhere we are part of it. Somewhere we are part of it in terms of business owners, in terms of business ideas that we would work upon, in terms of entrepreneurs, in terms of employees, in terms of the workforce of tomorrow. Right? Let's understand. And so let's understand what is changing, because it's important for us to have a deep dive into this. Right? My nephew, after first he interacted with ChatGPT, he very innocently told me, why is Alexa so dumb? Right? Why is Alexa so dumb? Right? Now, two things are happening. Let's understand that. We are moving from narrow AI to generative AI. Narrow AI is when you make computer play chess. Generative AI is when it can write poems. It can create plans. It can create structures. Probably it can create your assignments that you submit to your teachers. Right? Yeah. We are talking about something that mimics or aims at mimicking human mind to be able to replicate information, to be able to create and generate data and information that is useful. That is generative AI. On the other hand, you have FSD, which is full self drives. Full self-drive is not a mental thing. It is something which is existing in real spatial space, where it is figuring out how to move around, how to make sure crashes don't happen, to have that cognitive ability, to have that ability to ensure that you are able to probably do what you as a robot. Car is nothing but a machine, it's a robot. I mean, Transformers, I'm sure, has already proven that, but it is able to achieve that. Now, there would be a big revolution when these two technologies merge. Remember this. When these two technologies merge, there would be a big revolution, and then these numbers will become real. And it is not very far. It is not truly, we are not talking about 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, a century later. We are talking about 5, 6, 3, 2, 8, 10 years in time. Because now when these two technologies come together, you have a technology which can probably think, create, mimic, at the same time can move around. So you can tell your Alexa to create a nice toast, avocado toast for you, right? In a particular way where bread is not toasted too much, not too less. And it would be able to do it for you. And it's not only about your kitchen, it is going to impact lives like never seen before. And we are heading towards that, right? We are heading towards that, and it's real. OpenAI, you've heard of OpenAI? OpenAI did an experiment of where they spent 11 million, though they are a loss-making company as of now, on something called universal basic income, if you have heard of. What will people do if there are no jobs? If money is given to them, how would they respond? How they would react? So these are the realities that we are dealing with. I'm not saying it is going to happen, because understand that internet is a technology which is 30, 40 years old. Still, there are places where it has not reached, isn't it? Internet came in end of 80s, right? It came in India in 92, 93. Smartphones invented in around 2007. Google Maps came in 2005, but Uber came in 2014. It takes time, isn't it? Imagine there was Google Map and there was smartphone, but merge these two together, right? And to make it popular, right? It took little time, but there are challenging times ahead, and we need to be prepared, right? And so this is the challenge, and we need to be aware and we need to know about it, right? The second challenge that we truly need to be aware of is the skill deficit. I will not call it a gap anymore. I think there is a clear skill deficit, right? Deficit becomes very big when somebody says that there was a GDP deficit, isn't it, right? A lot of finance students here majoring in finance and I think minoring in IB, right? So yes, so we are talking about skill deficit. IMF reports that in next few years, 50% of existing employees would require reskilling. Reskilling is different from upskilling. We are talking about reskilling. United Nations, this is very interesting. United Nations projects that by 2030, 40% of children entering primary school today will work in jobs never heard before. Never heard before. So the good news is there would be jobs, right? The good news is there would be things, but then how prepared are we from a skilling perspective is an important question to ponder upon, to think upon, to work upon. And I'm sure academia is doing what it takes. You are part of one of the top institutions of the country here, right? And I'm sure they are doing what it takes, but it takes more than that, because the way the world is changing, it's very, very difficult to keep pace with it. It is very, very difficult to keep pace with it. And if you look at skill deficit that exists in an emerging and a thriving market like India, it's massive. We are talking about 16.2 million. That's more than population of so many countries across the globe. And we are only talking about India, who need to be accustomed to AI in next 3 years. That is where probably challenges and opportunity merge, isn't it? That is where challenges and opportunities come together, because when we talk about challenges, remember, every challenge is an opportunity. If finding an auto in Bangalore was difficult, and probably 10 years back, you could not even imagine that a cab can come to your doorstep, somebody solved that challenge, isn't it? Because there was an opportunity, right? So challenges and opportunity go hand in hand. In fact, one of the reports from ASSOCHAM found that 7% of MBA students in India are employable for the roles that their curriculum is designed for. Only 7%. Basically, a lot of times what we may be learning, I'm not saying what you're learning is not useful. I'm just saying that where you would start may be different from what you are learning today. Right? We are talking about World Economic Forum, which says that 1 in 4 MBAs, 1 in 5 engineers, and 1 in 10 graduates are not employable in India. Right? So we are talking about a skill deficit. We are talking about skill deficit. We are talking about a big challenge. And when I say the big challenge, I think we have to recognize, as I said, that when challenges and opportunity work together, the thing that we can do, I can do, you can do, all of us can do in this room is by tracking, knowing what's changing, isn't it? That's very important. If something is changing, then you need to be aware. Awareness is key. You need to know how it is changing. You need to know what it's changing. You need to know what future of work looks like. And you need to know what are the future opportunities, what are the future jobs, what are the future work that probably would define your respective careers. So a lot of existing jobs would see a decline in numbers. I'm not saying it would vanish. I would not say it would evaporate. I would not say that it would just not exist. But there would be numbers that would drop. So for example, in human resource, we would see numbers dropping in. Big numbers dropping in recruitment. We will see numbers dropping in finance. We will see a lot of jobs being lost. Existing jobs I'm talking about, not being there anymore, or seeing much lesser numbers, seeing drops of 60%, 50%, 80%, 70%. But then new jobs are also being created. Remember, 84 million jobs being lost, 97 million jobs being created. What is future of work looking like? So for example, for HR, some new designations that are shaping up are HR algorithm officer, workplace environment architect, HR prompt engineer. I am from an engineering background. I was passionate about HR. I never thought HR and engineer can come together. Never. Right? We have a job description called HR prompt engineer, a very well done and very well paid. We are talking about work from home facilitator. 15% of companies today are working remotely in the world. Could you imagine this? Could you imagine that today a multinational company can be 100 people in 20 different cities in 5 different countries? Could you imagine that it existed? That definition of a multinational company, which was 40,000 people in 10 different countries across 20 different cities, what we understood. But when we say multinational, we mean a company which exists in different locations. We have AI integration specialist. We have predictive data marketeers. Just think about it, what the outcome of this role may look like. Personalization ad experience manager, customer experience architects, AI human collaboration managers, marketing automation specialist, voice and conversational marketing experts. Right? All of us almost here are digital immigrants. I do understand that we probably come from a different generation. We are maybe Gen X and Gen Y, and all of you are Gen Z, right? But Gen Alpha is taking shape, if you're not aware of that, right? Gen Alpha are digital natives. We are digital immigrants, right? We were not born with a smartphone in our hands, but some folks, maybe some of you were, right? But a lot of digital natives are born with a smartphone in their palm, right? And that is what we are talking about in terms of digital natives. The way they would experience, they would drive would be very different, and the workplace has to be ready for that, right? When we look at finance, we are looking at AI financial analyst and AI risk managers. We are looking at fintech product manager. We are looking at blockchain financial analyst. We are looking at digital banking strategist. We are looking at ESG investment analyst. We are looking at sustainable finance managers, and we are looking at impact investing specialist. These are some of the designations where people are already started working in, and these are full-grown job descriptions and job specifications that we are talking about. Now, if I have to ask you that how many of you have heard these specific designations, names, the roles, job descriptions, the skills, the competencies that would be needed to do the job. A lot of times when I engage with, especially with students, I see them not being aware. And that is where we need to drive awareness. Because when we talk about skilling, right, and that is what I represent today from CHRMP's end. I co-chair the skill development, right? When we look at skilling, we are talking about awareness, the first step of skilling, isn't it? Right? If you are aware that you don't know how to swim, that's when you learn how to swim, right? If you're aware that you don't know how to drive, because skill is nothing but a developed ability. Now remember this, skill is a developed ability. You develop that ability with learning, with programs, with somebody teaching you, right? You doing things, right? So if you're not aware of these designations, if you're not aware of the descriptions, if you're not aware of the skills and competencies needed to do it, you would have a long way to figure out. But imagine by end of your MBA program, if you have figured out what these designations and skills are, and you have those skills, then you would be an in-demand professional. You would be an in-demand entrepreneur. And that is what it talks about, right? Now I'll quickly, in 5 minutes, talk about few skills which are important for all of you to learn, right? I would quickly talk about what can you do, get a hold of these skills, and then probably I'll leave the floor open for questions. One of the key skills that you really need to build your capability in is generative AI. And when I say generative AI, it is not that Instagram learning which tells you that you can create an Excel sheet and you can create a program plan and it is much deeper than that, right? It's an approach, it's a thought, there are models, right? There are practices, there is deep dive, that is what is needed. In fact, CHRMP is one of the HR certifications that I drove. And when I drove this HR certification, we were the first one in the world to launch a generative AI certification program for HR professionals and also for business professionals, right? And now we have 600 folks who have taken it from 13 countries, right? The way it gets deeper in terms of the business application part of it, not in terms of how fast you do it, but in terms of how deep you do it, is something that is important for you to learn. A very important skill that all of you need to pick up. The second important skill that all of you need to pick up is data and analytics. It's very important. Let's understand this. And the reason data and analytics is because where generative AI lacks now is decision making, and where humans drive is decision making, which basically means we will see a lot of automation for transactional roles, but we will not see a lot of automation for transformation roles, at least now, right? I mean, you can do this. You can just tell generative AI to pronounce strawberry, or just ask them to say how many R's are there in the strawberry. What do you think? How many R's are there in the strawberry? How many R's are there in strawberry? 3. Okay. Just give a voice command to ChatGPT and ask how many R's are there in strawberry. It would say 2. Till yesterday it was saying 2. It doesn't make it foolish. It is just maybe a programming error. It is just might be a programming error. But the key here is that decisions cannot be made without data. It cannot be made without insights. And data and analytics is key. It is important for you to have that view. Design thinking is another skill that you need to work upon. Entrepreneurship and innovation is important not only for business owners, it is part of all our roles today, and we need to build this. It adds the human element like never before. Stakeholder management is another skill which is very important for all of you to possess, all of you to upskill upon. Green finance and investment, because I'm interacting with a lot of folks who are from finance. I think green finance and investment and ESG are very important skills that you need to focus upon. And in fact, a report from JP Morgan says 35 million new jobs by 2047 would be created in green sector in India. It's big opportunity we are talking about, right? Sustainable supply chain management, right? A lot of people who do import and export, right? Sustainable supply chain management would only help your business grow, and it would be a key differentiator in terms of breaking the chain of command. Circular economy management. Have you heard of circular economy, right? Very important that you understand that and you get deeper into it. Digital transformation is also very important. And one also very important thing that you need to possess are soft skills. In fact, let's not call it soft skills, let's call them essential skills, right? Because when you call it soft, it looks like soft skills, right? But when you call them essential skills, it becomes important. I was part of CHRO roundtable representing ASSOCHAM, and a lot of HR leaders there from top companies were talking about this key skill missing and it being a real problem, right? So it's important that when you map these job descriptions of future or even existing job descriptions, you look at these behavioral parameters, which are extremely important, because remember, there are two things that makes you fit into a role. Remember, organizations talk about work culture, right? So they are looking for a work fit, but they are also looking for a culture fit, isn't it? Work fit is your technical skills and culture fit is your essential skills. Only when these two come together, right, you truly drive what it's needed to do it, right? So these are the skills for all of you that you truly need to drive upon. And the last point today is how can you do it, isn't it? Right? We started talking about emerging economy, and we talk about India, and we talk about India's goal. We talked about challenges, and we talked about technology and AI and automation and 3D printing and FSD, and then we spoke about skill deficit, and then we spoke about future of work and future of job and the skills that you need to master. We spoke all of it today, but how can you do it is an important question, isn't it? That's a very important question that needs to be answered. The key is, as I said earlier, is to be aware, is to be on top of trends. And I recommend this, and I highly recommend this. What you can do is that you can read books for established knowledge. Some knowledge is already established. It is done. And that's the foundation for other things coming in, right? So you can read books for established knowledge. You can read magazines and research papers for emerging knowledge. It's very important that you give some time off maybe Insta. I don't want to sound preachy, right? But I saw an image which said humans are hooked and machines are learning. And there were people who were just looking at their phones, and that is where we get hooked, but machines are learning. So it's important that you learn from magazines and research papers, latest publications for emerging knowledge. That's very important. You also should be active on social media, especially Twitter or what we call X now, and Reddit, for latest ideas that are emerging. And remember, you will come across a lot of bad ones, but that's part of your exposure, right? So that is also very important. This is highly recommended. Read books for established knowledge, follow magazines and journals and research papers for emerging knowledge, and follow Twitter, follow leaders, to follow entrepreneurs on these platforms to get to know about ideas and what's changing in the world, right? You should join communities. And Bangalore is a place where you would find so many, in fact, one of the best ecosystems of communities across is in Bangalore, right? And you should join these communities to learn here and practice. Extremely important that we learn. We should keep gaining validations and certifications. In fact, the term that we use is lifelong learning today. Lifelong learning, right? That's a key terminology in corporate. It's shaping up really well. You should do relevant projects and internship, and you can make a self-learning calendar. Remember, give a month. September is month for design thinking, and October is month for generative AI, and November is month for data and analytics, and December is month for innovation and entrepreneurship. Give 1 month and just spend 15 minutes probably reading, learning, watching about these things, whatever your learning style is, but you can do that. And that's the recipe for success, and that's the recipe for growth, and that's the recipe that would take you where all of your individual goals are. And I'm sure no matter what your individual goals are, it would be aligned to India's goal if you do well, isn't it? Right? And that's it. And the last bit that I want to talk about, I would want to leave all of you with a very interesting note from Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man, right? So learning, skilling, upskilling, reskilling is the key. And that's the path for your growth. Thank you so much.